Hey, how's it going, my friends? So we're back, and this one's a long review, so I'll just go ahead and go for it. And also, this one's a bit different because I usually, as I said, I'm a proponent, so I usually review films that I really like. But in this case, Cool Intentions is more that it fitted with the eye aesthetic I'm interested in, and I was like sure because I've already reviewed the other two films, and I'll release the first review as well soon. But it's the idea that and also I'm doing that Girl Next Door, and that's also very erotic, and I really like that one. But yeah, I think it's just like an extra review I'm doing with this one, so I'm like, why not? But I just wanna warn you guys that I think it's only for the most hardcore fans of the Cruel Intentions series, not even for a like curious audience, because it's just so different from the rest of the franchise that definitely. But anyway, guys, let's go for it, because I realize when I read, it's much better, like, right, straightforward, just read it and then break it down as opposed to taking a lot of time. So, hey guys, I usually review a classic film. This time's a bit different, so I don't think Cruel Intentions 3 is well regarded. Instead, I'm reviewing it primarily since it's advised by the values and ideas that I find interesting. The whole erotic aesthetic. This is why I might be reviewing stuff like more erotic films, but we'll see. So I'm reviewing it as part of the erotic films. Cruel Intentions 3 is directed by Scott Ziehl, written by Red Reese, and produced by Neil Morris. It's a sequel to the original Cruel Intentions, and it's a sequel is partially based on a French novel, Liaison Dangereuse, by Pierre Ambroise. So brief plot summary, the film focuses on three young characters: Jason Argyle, played by Kurt Smith, Cassidy Mertel, played by Christina Anapau, and Patrick Bates, played by Nathan Warrington. They all go. They go against each other, but Cassidy battles with Jason, and Jason bets $10,000 so Cassidy can sleep with Patrick. However, she does and earns some money, but then Patrick sabotages the relationship between Cassie and a British royal, Christopher, and Patrick reveals to be acting. Honestly, this twist. So what happens, guys? We're back. This time we're in California. So we're at California, Santa Barbara, and what happens is Cassidy, who's cousins with Catherine, goes to this school, and then Jason, who's cousins with Sebastian, also goes to the school, and they meet. They're like blood related, and they're cousins, so they're helping. They battle each other with this sex game similar to the original Cruel Intentions, Sebastian and Catherine, but these guys are less intense. Like, it's not as interesting. And then they run into this guy Patrick, who seems to be American Psycho. I think a lot of people are super intense, like obsessed with that film and book, but like they run into this like Patrick guy who alludes to some of that Bret Easton Ellis work, and he's an evil guy, and so they end up just battling him. And I guess that premise, it makes it sound exciting, but not really, because it just doesn't work, because I feel the cast and director don't really understand the Cruel Intentions franchise, and we're just adding their own ideas. And they, since it's a direct to video, they were given leeway to just do whatever. So pretty much whatever they thought would be they wanted to do, even though it doesn't just fit with that world, sort of like Star Wars. Some people are critical right now of The Last Jedi, because it's just not what the franchise is based on. So there's an expectation, a franchise expectation, and I think with Cruel Intentions 3, like, it just doesn't fit with the franchise. So what happens is that eventually Cassie and Jason team up to face Patrick. Patrick's straight up an evil guy and takes advantage of a bride. So Cassie and Patrick get him arrested. It's more similar to the first Cruel Intentions films, but I did not find it exciting, because at least the first Cruel Intentions film abided by the idea that Catherine and Sebastian were battling each other, and here Cassidy and Jason shoot, but they quickly, like Jason with the help of Patrick, quickly beat Cassidy, and then it just becomes anticlimactic from there on, and then we see Patrick as a villain, but like he's not a likable antagonist either. So like there, and Jason is also not likable, and I'll explain why later. But it's the idea that it just doesn't happen, you know, like it just doesn't work. But it's just not exciting. So cinematography. So I feel cinematography is the strongest aspect of the film. So everything else in the film is just lacking, but I think cinematography is nice. Also, it's because the scenery is well chosen. For instance, the swimming pool. It helps this hedonistic vibe. And honestly, I don't feel like California would be the ideal setting for this type of work. Because while, yeah, it's a bit hedonistic, I feel like, well, unless you guys are talking about the OC, then maybe it can work. But at the same time, it's that they're too casual, you know, like some of the wardrobe they're choosing. I'm not saying it cannot specifically work for California, but I'm talking in the context of the movie. So, because I have a lot of California friends, you know, I think it's a great place. But I'm saying in the context of the movie, it just like they can't sell it that well. So it helps. Then there's a sex scene which frankly are strong. For instance, a sex scene between Jason and his date. So I like the positions. For instance, the girl on top was well done. We could see her breast. So the scene between Jason and his date, like it was good, well done. It was hot, I guess. Was you guys really liked Paris Hilton like reference of like how she sound. So the golf scenes were also good. They were bright and they also built a bit of sexual tension. For instance, when Jason goes behind Cassidy and he starts grinding on her, like I felt okay. It was good to an extent. Then that church scene was also good. Made me think that Catholicism plays a larger role in the original film. Unless in a second one at Manchester Prep, it definitely plays a role. Cinematographer Thomas Galloway and Calloway. That sounds like an Irish name. Could be an Irish Catholic name. Tries to save the film. It feels like hot, not cute. Hot sex scenes in between an interesting plot. So yeah, like the main problem is just that characters are not there. The plot is not there. But some of the imagery seems to Thomas Calloway. It's interesting, you know. It delivers. The film score is on and off. The film recycled music from the previous Cruel Intentions. There's a sexy beat and bass that stand out. The sound though isn't that good. This guy's whisper too much, and this is my main critique of Jason. Like, the actor Kurt Smith, he just whispers everything, and it's hard to hear him. So instead of talking, they seem to have embraced this whisper style of talking. Patrick also uses it, though much less. For instance, when Patrick and Jason are at the pool, they only talk like in this whisper style. The characters are a bit a hit or miss, so I feel Cassie is a standout. So definitely, Cassie is the only girl, like the only character who feels like she belongs to the series. But then everybody else just feels like they're in a different movie. So for instance, at the beginning, she has a tight silver skirt, and like it stands out. I think she like touches her leg, and we see her. I don't think she spanks her bad, so for people wondering, but she stands out. You know what I mean? Like she's entertaining. Unfortunately, Cassidy is not giving her proper due. For example, when Catherine, she was the main antagonist, was constantly like intimidating Sebastian, and she was also beating him most of the time. But with Cassidy, she loses against Jason and Patrick, and it makes it boring since you're taking away the stakes. So for you guys to study creative writing, there's a sense of stakes. So if Catherine loses, and in this case Cassidy loses right away, like it takes away all that tension, you know. And that's one of the main issues with the film. There's so much less tension. There's Jason, who feels like a complete miscast. He thinks he's on a different movie altogether. And honestly, like Kurt Smith, like Jason character, like he just doesn't fit in. You know, I know he was trying to be like creative, and but he just doesn't fit in the film. He thinks he's on a different movie. For instance, he dresses casually. He's slovenly looking, so he has a sort of mustache that he doesn't shave. It doesn't compare in no way to Sebastian, because Sebastian was both confident and he was also very, very well dressed. He's very clean. Well, with Jason, like he just isn't, you know. He also starts wondering is sex right or not. Like I feel like he tries to be philosophical, but it just comes off as like breaking the suspension of disbelief for the audience. Because I feel like Robin Doon, the Canadian actor, like he does it much better because he's like he delivers a lot more like more range to the character. Like the character is more intelligent, he's cautious, but he's likable. I think that's the key word, guys. Likable. No, Robin's character in the second Cruel Intentions is way more likable. Well, both Jason and Patrick are just not likable people. They're just there, you know. Um, Meanwhile, Phil Patrick is the weakest character. He coughs a lot. He's too awkward. He doesn't fit in the story at first, you know, and then his shift happens. But unlike the shift with Danielle, Patrick simply changes right away. So there's no build up to Patrick's change. He just acts awkward and then he doesn't, you know. So also Patrick has, as I said, they were trying to go to the American Psycho style. Patrick steals money and uses it to pay for charity. So he started adding a lot of things that doesn't have nothing to do with eroticism, but just sociopathy and just being an evil person. So he steals money and then gives it to charity. I feel like this weakens the character since he's supposed to be rich and he shouldn't be like stealing money, you know, even though he doesn't technically steal it. Like, just a picture of him doing this just doesn't seem right. It's like Batman trying to, like, shooting at bad guys when he's not supposed to do that because it's not his style, you know. So I think Ziehl wanted to be more psycho type character as opposed to a more playful sexual misfit. So this is what I liked about Cruel Intention, that there was an element of playfulness. They were sexual misfits, but they're not bad people. At least to me, you know, they're not evil people. They might be on the morally gray area, but I feel they're more redeemable at least. So the film's dialogue is only there to carry the plot, doesn't shine on its own. So that dialogue is very wordy and it shows. For instance, a married woman, Alison, when she and Patrick talk, it's just super boring. Like, there's nothing there. It's just very long lines. So just because a person I'm in love is not here, that I should take advantage of that. Like, something along those lines is super boring, and it's just uninteresting. You know, like her scenes are some of the weakest. The lines feel very long and less organic. Moreover, when Patrick says his lines, his words are very long, like blah blah. Like, I just, not making fun of it, but he just says a lot of random stuff, which not random, but it's just not exciting. Again, Patrick's not a likable guy. His chemistry with Cassidy just doesn't work. For instance, with Catherine talks to Sebastian, there's a sense of threat. However, with Patrick, he just acts catty, like he's like, "Excuse me," and stuff like that. You know, like Patrick, both Jason and Patrick are a miscast. Like, they shouldn't be in the film. So Patrick, it's because Patrick just doesn't take Cassidy serious, and I think that's a big sin with this franchise, because like Catherine and both Cassidy are supposed to exert fear and nervousness with all the guys because of their seduction prowess. So you can have a guy like Patrick who is, I don't think he really likes her either. You know, he's not that attracted to her. And they allude to this, you know, like he might be like have multiple different orientations, but like, you know what I mean? What? Okay, and this is an important one, guys. The film lacks passion, energy, and tension. One of the reasons why Cruel Intentions and Cruel Intentions 2 work was because there was passion behind the characters. They truly wanted to play sex games with each other. Meanwhile, with both Jason and Patrick, there's no passion in their eyes. They seem like lazy rich people, and they don't even seem and look rich because they just wear casual clothes. So I'm not sure if director Scott Ziehl wanted to wear that Cruel Intentions formula. It just doesn't work. Instead, what we're left with is a bunch of sex scenes stripped along with a theme plot. For instance, at Circle Cruel Intentions, you have a lot of playful scenes for when Sebastian gets in a shower with two women. Meanwhile, in this Cruel Intention, Jason has sex with his date, and that's it. I feel like we have not earned the payoff. Jason's only alright scene was the phone scene, like when he calls. There's a phone scene, but I won't get into detail because it's too interesting. In general, Patrick is just unlikable, unlike Sebastian. He gets too confrontational with girls as opposed to being seductive. He has no charm with the girls either, you know, like, and there's the whole fetishizing abuse, which I've talked about, and I think they do that a lot in some of the Brady Easton Ellis style of books, and even the imitators, because I think clearly he's a good writer, guys. Otherwise he wouldn't be known, but I mean, like, a lot of people imitate what he's doing, like, and a lot of porn as well. They're trying to fetishize abuse. I feel the film is much lower in quality than the previous two films. It's a bit of a snooze fest, and it's a word I really like and captures it. Cassidy delivers, but the two main guys are boring and uninteresting. They just seem like they're just there, you know? So, they lack the clothes, they lack the dialogue, they don't have the seduction skills. And that's pretty much the summary, guys. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video, guys, and I'll do an edited version of this as well in